Hi friends, welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Caitlin and I like to do eyeshadow palette ranking and review videos, although I will say this is my first ranking video where I'm ranking just like one brand of palettes. So let me know if this is something that you would be interested in seeing more of, because I do have some other brands where I have quite a few of their palettes. But anyways, if that is content you are interested in, I invite you to subscribe. For those of you that are not new here, my face is happy that you are seeing it again. And yeah, we are ranking every eyeshadow palette I have from Malt Cosmetics. I have 18 eyeshadow palettes from them. I feel like that's every eyeshadow palette, but I could be missing an older one. I do not know. But anyways, if you're interested, then go ahead and keep on watching. Before we get started, I want to explain, one, why I'm doing this ranking, and two, kind of give an explanation behind what you're going to see on my Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, I have like a Reels that is going to make more sense if I explain things. So, if you watch sports, the NBA playoffs are currently going on. If you've been around a while, you remember that I did like a March Sadness thing where I did like one look with a palette and like pitted it against another palette, and then we went through the bracket, and anyways, that was at the start of COVID. So this is similar to that, but not nearly as much work, because that took me like 3 months to get through. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, one, rank all of my Melt palettes today, and then two, create a bracket based on these rankings and do a look with each palette and have the look like go against each other, and then one look will win, and then it'll like kind of move through, and then we'll see what look, aka what palette, won our playoffs. Because my number one palette might not win. I might create a look with another palette that I like more. So anyways, that's what I want to do. So that's what we're hoping to accomplish. Yeah, so starting with my number 18 ranked palette. This is the Melt Cosmetics 27 palette. And this one is good quality. The mattes are really, really nice. These shimmers they're not even bad quality shimmers from Melt. They're actually okay. It's just this whole palette feels like one layer, like level of depth. I don't like there's some shades that are a little bit darker, so maybe like 2 levels of depth. I feel like it doesn't go like very light. So I almost always have to combine this palette with another palette. But with the looks I'm doing, I am allowing myself like one assistant to each look, so to speak. So for example, with the look I have today, I have Danessa Myricks Infinite Chrome Flakes over the top. So I'm allowed to jack up each look with one thing. So even though this palette is ranked last because I feel like it needs something to like add some oomph, it could do well in this, is all I'm saying. Okay. Number 17 is the Melt Cosmetics Vida palette. This was part of their holiday collection. I want to say 2019, right? 2018, because 2020 was the Amore E Mariposas, and then 2019, or no, that was 2021. Yeah, 2019. I don't know what year it is. Anyways, okay, so here is the palette. Again, love the mattes. The quality though on these shimmers is not great. They're pretty dry, and they're darker than like like this green shimmer is darker than the green matte. The orange matte is okay. I don't know. I don't know. This one is a little bit of a struggle also, but it is very pretty. And it's just very warm. That's the other thing. I'm not a big fan of like really like warm colors. So like reds, oranges, yellows, I don't love. I'm more of a green, blue, purple gal. So yeah. Okay. Number 16 is the Millennial Pinks palette. I think this is actually a really cool color story. I just wish there was like one shade in between these, like one, this isn't that different. Like, so what is this? GF and Euphoria aren't that different of shades. If this was like just a touch lighter, I feel like this like gradient would work better. But I actually think the shimmers in this palette are okay. It's just like a lot of pink and very little gray with like no differentiation between the gray shades that make me not love this one quite as much. Number 15 is one of the new to me palettes. So I actually purchased, here's a funny story. So I had 15 Melt palettes, and I initially was just going to do like a March Sweet 16, like March Madness Sweet 16. And I was like, so I got to get one to hit 16. But I was like, but they are selling the Impulsive and the Radioactive, and like they still sell Smoke Sessions, but Impulsive and Radioactive I saw were on sale on Poshmark. So I was like, so I should just get 3 because that's what's going to get me to 16. I don't know why I did it. Anyways, I am impulsive. So anyways, that's how that happened. So now I'm doing like sort of a play on the NBA playoffs, but they have like 20 teams. So when we get to the bracket video, you'll see what I mean. But anyways, this is the Melt Cosmetics Smoke Sessions palette. I don't love this one. Yeah, so the shimmers in it are very beautiful, but the 2 mattes are like too deep to like blend out lightly and then build on top of themselves. So they don't quite work. So it's another one that needs help. But I did combine it with like my Viseart Editorial Brights palette. Worked perfectly. Beautiful look. So it works well. It's just not quite there on its own. Okay, so number 14 is the Melt Cosmetics 420 palette. This palette definitely requires some finessing to get a pretty look, but man, are the tones and the color story of this palette so beautiful. Like this shade, what is this? Shotgun and Faded and Chronic. Like I love using those 3 shades for a look. It does require a little bit of blending back and forth, but it's so pretty. And then I love the tones of these, like more of these browns. They're just like interesting. So I really like this one. And then I like the packaging that it moves. But yeah, it requires a little bit of more finessing than their other mattes do, so that's why it's lower on the ranking. 13 is the Melt Cosmetics Radioactive palette. I've actually been having a great time trying this palette out. It's super fun, very bright. It's interesting that like I thought these mattes were mattes just like with glitter in them, so that like when you blended them on the eye, you know, the glitter just kind of goes away, but they're actually like satin shades. And I'm kind of here for it. Like I like this a lot. Like I'm having a great time with this. So Melt, if you're watching this, you guys should try and bring this back if you can, because I think it's cool. I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in that, but not like definitely the 2 purples are like satiny. Melt Down appears to be more of a true matte. I think Arsenic's more of a satiny one too. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but anyways, I've been enjoying this. I like it. Haven't had any issues with the quality so far. I think it's a fun, bright neon, like color, like rainbow color story. So you can definitely create like different looks with it on its own. But also you can bring in some shimmers from other palettes and have a good time. Number 12 is the Recently Deceased palette. This was one of the Beetlejuice palettes they did for holiday 2020. So yeah, I want to love this palette because I love Beetlejuice. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But this purple row is like, while they're all good quality shadows, I would say, in this palette, they're just like a tiny bit redundant in that, and there's not like a lot of variety. So I don't reach for this that often because there's not really a ton of variability in the looks you can get, but I think both the mattes and the shimmers in this palette are pretty good quality. Number 11 is the Impulsive palette. This is definitely one of their thicker ones. So let me just I still have the plastic in here because I'm kind of stressed that like if I don't have the plastic on, are these shades just gonna like fall out into each other and mix together? But anyways, so this is how it works. So see how it closes like that? Anyways, so yeah, another new palette to me, but I've really been enjoying this so far. I've used the shade Bold in 2012, I think, and they worked like really nicely. I think I used the green mattes too. Like they just performed really well, like really, really well. So I really like these. Oh, Pop and Bottles, this shimmer is like deceptively good. Like it doesn't look like it's gonna be that great in the pan. Here, let me see if I can swatch it. But like, do you see that? It has like a green, like a peach green duochrome shift. Ugh, it just hits you. It surprises you. You're like, oh, I wasn't okay. I wasn't expecting that, but all right, I'm a fan. I never bought this palette because it was on sale for like forever, and I never got it because so many people were like talking about how they didn't like it, or I watched a bunch of people declutter it, but I really like it and I'm happy I have it. So shout out to the person I bought it from on Poshmark. So and I will say the palettes I bought on Poshmark were all new. I think one had been swatched and sanitized, but none of them had been used. But just, you know, be mindful of buying used makeup. That's all I'm going to throw out there. 10. So number 10 is the Malt Cosmetics Blueprint Palette. So this has a similar situation to the Melt Cosmetics. These are all Melt Cosmetics, like, I don't know why I keep saying it, but to the Smoke Sessions palette, where that there's only 2 mattes and then a ton of shimmers. But I feel like these mattes work better as like blending out and then building on themselves to create a cohesive look without needing to pull in other mattes. So that's why this one is higher. And I really like the tones of the browns, and then this blue, especially Skylight and Dead Bullet, I think are my 2 favorite shades, but they're very stunning blue shimmers and I love them. Shockingly, and I say shockingly because if you watch my other rankings, this palette is always at the bottom, but I think I've had a change of heart recently. But this is this is a brunette palette. Usually I'm upset because the packaging tore, so I keep putting it at the bottom because it makes me mad, but I think I've gotten over it. This is just a really pretty neutral palette. All of the mattes and the shimmers perform well, like they are good quality. And this is like a good palette when you're just like, I need something quick and easy and it's gonna look good. And I think this palette just works, and maybe it's my skin tone that I feel like it just really works with, but I like it. Number 8 is the other Beetlejuice palette. This is the Waiting Room palette, and similar critique to the other Beetlejuice palette, there's just some duplicate shades, like, and I don't want to say duplicate because Obituary and No Exit definitely have like a difference in depth, but not enough of a difference that like you can really like confidently, I feel like, blend out between the two. There's a little bit more variability. Same with Shrunken Head and Tombstone. Like I feel like we could have, I don't know, done something different, but I still really like this palette and I like the looks that I create with this palette. Even though I don't love red eyeshadow, I'm a fan of this palette. So yeah. Number 7 is the Rust palette. I do really like the tones in this palette, and I think it's a very interesting neutral palette. It falls prey to kind of the same critique I have of the 27 palette, where these shimmers are like they're good or okay quality, but they just don't really do anything for the way I like to do my makeup. So this one, the reason it's way higher than the 27 palette is because you have this really light matte and this very, very dark matte. So I feel like you have more of a gradient in the mattes, and there's more variability that you can do with these all matte looks using this palette. But yeah, just less variability in the shimmers, or in the sense that there's not really any light shimmers. Number 6 is the Mary Jane palette. And I know a lot of people didn't like the quality of these shimmers because they're kind of crumbly, but I felt like I saw either Laura or Dana, one of the Melt owners, they were talking about how they wanted it to be like a refracted light situation, and I feel like that is how it works, and these are just like fun tones of neutrals, and so I really like this palette. I'm a big fan. Number 5 is the palette that I am wearing on my eyes today, and that is their newest one. This is the Gemini 2 palette. I love this. I do think these shimmers are also good quality, but again, they don't really go that light. So of course I added that Danessa Myricks palette. I added the Danessa Myricks Infinite Chrome Flakes, which I really feel like just added a little pizzazz to this look. But even still without it, I did an all matte look, and Bella was the shade that's right here, and I thought it looked really nice. So still a fan of this. And I had a hard time because I wanted to put Gemini 2 over this palette, but that felt like more of a recency bias because I do love this next palette and I have for a very long time. So number 4 is the Gemini, the original palette. I did not buy the new packaging as much as I wanted to. That is a beautiful color story. I love this. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. It's really easy to create looks with. Looks nice, always looks nice on the eye. What more do you want? Okay. Top 3 palettes. Which one do you think is going to be number 1? I think in the rankings I've done on this channel, each of these has been number 1 at some point. I think, if I remember correctly. So, do with that what you will. But anyways, number 3 is the She's in Parties palette. I adore this palette. I love purple eyeshadow. Some of you may be shocked and thought this was going to be the number 1 because of how much I love purple eyeshadow, but I like the next 2 palettes a little bit more, just for variation in color story. So this is a monochromatic palette, so even though I love purple eyeshadow and I think it's really beautiful, you just can't do much beyond a purple look with it. But I will say I love this shade Skeleton Kiss. It's a beautiful highlight if you want to use it on the face too. But yeah, this is one of their better palettes in my opinion. Number 2 is a palette that you can't get anymore, so I'm really sorry that I'm about to sing its praises for any of you that want it or have wanted it and haven't been able to get it. But this is the Muerte palette. This was limited edition that they did in whatever we decided, 2019 or something, 2018. I really like this palette. The shimmers are, I would say, okay actually. This isn't their worst, but it's not as good as like the She's in Parties and Blueprint shimmer formula, I would say. But these are very stunning mattes. I think it's a super cool color story, and I absolutely adore the packaging. So number 1 is the Amore E Mariposa's palette. I just think this palette is so lovely. I know the pans are pretty small, but I feel like you have so many different color combinations, and this palette's made me step outside of my comfort zone quite a bit. And then every look that Laura and Dana did, like, to promote this palette, I like recreated every single one because I just thought they were all stunning. So I really love this color story and just that palette in general. So what I did to create the bracket is I kind of went, every palette that was ranked in like an even number spot is like on one side of our bracket, and every palette that's ranked in an odd number spot is on the other side. So when we get to that video, I will explain that in more detail of like which palette was where, and then I'll show the looks and we'll kind of walk through it and see who the winner is. But yeah, let me know if you liked this ranking video and if you want to see me do it with some other brands. And I mean, hopefully I get this up in time where Kylov is still doing their buy one get one, because like I could be tempted, if you guys wanted me to pick up the Impressionism and Les Jardins palettes, because those are the only 2 I'm missing from them, and then I could do something similar because I'd have all of their palettes. And then like, should I get the Lunar Beauty Nude Prism palette, because that's the only one I'm missing from that brand as well. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. I'm here to make you guys happy. I don't want to be a completionist, but after completing my Malt palette collection, it feels really good. So now I feel like I might turn into one. So anyways, let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know which Malt palette is your favorite. If you ever tried Malt, or if you haven't, why you don't want to. I like talking makeup with you guys in the comments. So that's everything from me. I will see you guys next time. Bye.